everybody. Thanks again for joining. My name is Erik Mogus. I run product here at Pondurance. Wanted to review, kind of go over our network platform here. We'll talk about the sensor, how we leverage that sensor here at Pondurance to provide advanced detections, and kind of why we view this as one of the four pillars of a solid foundation for security. The others being our log, EDR, and vulnerability programs, but network's kind of a key piece of that if you have that. If you're an existing customer, some of this may be a little bit redundant, but I think I'll hopefully have a couple good insights in here for how we leverage that platform. If you are not a network customer, hopefully this will provide some really good insights, just kind of overall as to what the value is around the service itself. So just to level set, like our network sensor provides three core functions. It provides security alerts. So if it sees something bad on the network and we recognize that bad thing, it's going to generate an alert and say, you know, we detected this bad thing. It's going to generate an event. It's going to generate an alert. The analyst is going to look at it. It's going to provide metadata, and that metadata is key. And that's mostly what I'm going to talk about here today. That metadata provides kind of a rolling history of everything that happens on your network. It gives us real detailed visibility into host and user activities. Most importantly, it records data around sessions where no other security events were detected, so that we can observe those and we can take those into account when we're providing detections. The third part there is the full packet capture, and that's more of a niche use case. It's highly valuable. It lets us collect forensics evidence. It lets us do things like extract file objects for further analysis, but really here to talk mostly about the metadata component. So why metadata? The alerts are good, but the metadata is contextual. The more data points that we have in our SOC, the more data points that our analysts have, the better decisions that we can make, the better tickets we can generate. I always said, like, the litmus test for a ticket is, do I wake somebody up at 3 o'clock in the morning to notify them of this? So this first slide here talks a little bit about where we integrate the network meta, and that is across EDR. We're automating these processes so that if we have an alert that is a EDR or log or a cloud, that we can pull in that network metadata into that case and leverage that in a way that's it's much more efficient, lets us do things at scale a bit better. So we're pulling that data in for things like EDR alerts. Potentially there's no block action associated with that, but we think something bad's happened. We can augment that case data, that case with metadata around the network that describes what happened before and after and during the time of that event. We can do the same thing for logs, and we can do the same thing for cloud. So what does that mean at the end of the day? And this is, I think, the most important part. I'm going to provide an example here about alert enrichment. So this is something that we see quite often as an alert, particularly on the network sensor, and that's a malicious domain detected. So typically in this case, a user clicks probably a phishing email or something along those lines. That domain is already known to be bad, and a alert is generating saying that the user has clicked this malicious domain. So that's a good alert. That's a solid foundation. What it does not tell you, and going back to that, do I wake somebody up at 3 o'clock in the morning use case, is a number of things have to happen in order for that this alert to manifest itself in the real world. So the user could have clicked the domain. What domain is it? Oftentimes with the signatures, due to the way that the threat intelligence is shared amongst the security community, when security providers purchase third-party intel, oftentimes they are allowed to alert and say, we saw a malicious domain, but they're not allowed to call out the domain specifically, because that's essentially data leakage for the third party. So what do you do with that? Like, do you wake somebody up over that and say, we saw a user click this, but what does that mean? Did anything bad actually happen, right? And what was the domain? So this is where the network comes in. I've got two columns here. One describes what we see typically broadly across any alert platform. So that may be EDR, it could be a IDS or a firewall or proxy or something like that, host logs. But then what that means when we combine that alert with network data. So what was the domain, first off? Sometimes, depending on the alert and the security device, that may be published or not. With network, we could always see that domain. Did that domain resolve? If you're subscribed to a secure DNS, they may have blocked that domain already or black holed it, in which case, yes, a user clicked a bad domain, but there's no outcome. Like nothing malicious happened after that. Nothing could have happened after that. And then did the host successfully connect? So depending on what your egress firewall policies look like, a user might click the bad domain, it may resolve, but did the host connect? So the long and short of it is, with the network data, we can track that full event from malicious domain detected, which is useful but very generic, to determine all of these things, to be able to understand not just the confidence of the alert, like what does that mean and how confident are we that something bad happened, but also the impact of that, which is going to determine what the criticality is. That's the key part. That's the, do I wake somebody up at 3 o'clock in the morning? So if we see this event and we see the host, the domain did resolve, the host did connect to it, the host did download traffic from that IP, and now it's spraying the inside of your network, we're pretty confident something very bad's happening, right? Without that network metadata, it's almost impossible to be able to put all of that together to determine what the criticality of that event is.
All right. Thanks, Erik, for those valuable insights on the network sensor. We appreciate all of you taking the time to join our webinar today. And if you're looking for more information, please check out our frequently updated resources library at pondurance.com or reach us directly at info@pondurance.com. Thank you.